Hey guys, so it's been a while since I've kind of chattered at you via video. Um, I really was hoping to be able to say that I was a good balancer, and once I got to school, things would be just fine and dandy, and I'd be able to post just as often as I was before. Fortunately, obviously, as you can see, that hasn't happened. Coming off of a year off and just working and then going back into student life has been quite an adjustment for me. I'm now in midterm season and, bringing back the reminiscent McMaster. So that's kind of what I've been up to lately. Now, the reason for this post, or this video, I should say, is that I've gotten a couple questions regarding macro counting. And yes, I do it. And maybe that's why people have been asking me about it. Basically, what's the concept behind it, why do it, how do I do it, and what's my opinion on it. So I figured I would do a quick video. I don't know if it'll be quick. I hope it will be. Let's see how chatty I get. Post about it just because I feel like it's easier to do a video rather than to type it all up. So I'm going to try really hard. This is my third attempt at this video because the last two were I got way off track multiple times. So I'm going to try to keep it as straightforward and flowing as possible so it doesn't get confusing. Okay, so focus and concentration. All right, so what is a macro? A macro basically is your macronutrients. So you basically have your carbs, your fats, and your proteins. Okay, these account to your calories, obviously. So carbohydrates and proteins both have 4 calories per gram versus your fats are a more energy dense source and they have 9. And they come together to kind of form your total caloric intake for your day. They're also the things that obviously provide you with energy. Okay, so they give your body the building blocks it needs to build ATP, which is your energy, and so you can end up doing stuff, right? You need those things, obviously, to function. That's your basal metabolic rate, versus also to actually be able to do other things like walk and talk and, pick up something. That's the added expenditure that comes along on top of your basal metabolic, which is the calories you burn simply by being. Like by lying in a bed, this is how many calories you burn, your organs, your brain, whatever it may be. There's also your micronutrients. Now, your micronutrients are just as important. They just are needed in smaller amounts, and they don't contain energy per se by themselves. They just simply help with your body's other functions, and they help to release that energy. And often, they're involved in the reactions that help to make ATP in the first place. So, like I said, your vitamins, your minerals, and then water is obviously super important. Then what is macro counting? Well, macro counting is what it is. It's you count your macros. So on a day-to-day basis, what you would do would be everything that you eat, you would weigh it out so you know how much you're eating. You would log it into a computer program like MyFitnessPal, for example. And you would basically, at the end of the day, spit out how many carbs you've taken in that day, how many grams of fat, and how many grams of protein. So that is how your macros are counted, and that's what you get at the end of the day. So, where do we go off of this? Now, some people say they're interested in macro counting. Now, obviously, I'm not sure what your goals are, but depending on the goal that you have, whether that may be to lose weight, to gain weight, to maintain, to build muscle, whatever it may be, all of these things are going to have different macronutrient requirements. The issue about me kind of giving specific recommendations is the fact that everybody is different. So it's really hard for me to say, a basic rule about macro counting because even myself, I'm still learning. As you know, I count my macros specifically for the purposes of me trying to put on weight. Right now, I'm trying to put on as much muscle as possible in terms of that weight because I have a really hard time gaining weight. Now, it's probably a big thing to do with the foods that I eat. I eat very clean and I enjoy my clean foods and they make my tummy happy because it's very finicky. So I track my macros to kind of make sure that I'm getting enough. And I also track my macros to know what I need to increase and to watch those increases. Now, I have often said in my posts that I do not recommend macro counting for people the everyday individual. Why is this? There's a couple of reasons. Counting your macros is time consuming. Okay, it requires you to log all your food. Of course, sorry, before I begin, all of these pros and cons are kind of coming from the fact that if you want to do this and you're going to do it right, and you're going to weigh your food religiously, and you're going to track your food, and you're going to follow those macros, these are the problems, okay? So that's kind of where I'm going at here. I'm not saying someone who's like, oh, I'll weigh things here and there, I'll eyeball things. No. These are the problems associated with you doing it as it should be done, okay? So, back anyways. Takes a lot of time. When you are counting your macros, you have to weigh everything. This means you have to have a scale. You have to log everything, which means you have to be kind of putting this into a program and kind of seeing how that goes. And depending on what your goals are, if you're just wanting to see what your macros are, that's not a huge problem. But if you're actually on a plan of some kind that gives you macros that you have to fit in your day, it becomes kind of like a puzzle. Every day you kind of have to log in, like, okay, if I want this for dinner, well, what can I have throughout the rest of the day so I can actually fit that in my macros? I'll get at if it fits my macros later in this video, because I have a couple issues with the current idea of that. Anyways, so like I said, it's time consuming. So that's one major problem. Another thing is that people might think you're weird. If you have this scale at home, people will be like, oh, why do you have a scale at home? So that's one other issue. I've kind of gotten used to it. Obviously, I don't bring my scale out in public with me. If I need to bring food, I'll bring my own food from home, and I don't often eat out, so I don't really have a problem. There's also the issue of, if you do eat out a lot and you are following your macros and you're trying to fit, a certain macro count, you have to estimate a lot. And the thing is that you're not going to be very good at estimating until you've done it for a while. Okay? So that's another thing that might throw your macros off, and then that could obviously change how your progress is going. And then you'd be like, oh, well, these aren't working for me. Well, if you're not doing them precisely, it's not going to work the way it should. So you'll never know. The last thing, the big, big, big thing, is that it kind of throws off intuitive eating, and it throws off your idea of what food is. So basically, if you count your macros for any reason, you're going to start seeing food as numbers. And this is just, it's going to happen. And unfortunately, for some people, this can lead to really problematic behavior. And if you've already had a history with a bad relationship with food, macro counting is probably the least, or the thing you really don't want to do, okay? Because it kind of puts you back into those bad habits of counting and always obsessing about food and numbers. It can also take the everyday person and start giving them ideas about how to obsess about food and numbers. So that's the biggest reason why I don't recommend it, is because it's so hard to keep it straight. Some people feel really good counting, and they actually do well on it. And they're just like, oh, it doesn't bother me. This is what I eat. This is what I have left. I eat it, whatever. But some people get really obsessive about it, and they're like, when they go out, all they see, instead of seeing their food in front of them, they're like, oh, that has this many grams of fat. That has this many grams of fat. Oh, I went over, so I can't eat that, And it becomes kind of detrimental to your life. And it can kind of spin you into a really bad place. So I don't recommend it, because I don't want to see anyone fall into those cycles. They're really hard to climb back out of once you fall in. Some of the good things about macro counting, well, for me, I can kind of gauge, the changes in my body, how my body is being affected by certain nutrients because you can see what you're increasing and then how your body feels. For me, I know that in order for me to put on weight, I probably need to continue to increase my carbs. And also that helps me in the gym, right? I see a completely proportional relationship between the amount of carbs I'm eating and my strength and my energy in the gym. So I know that carbs are my friend. And for the most part, for most people, the more carbs you have, the better you tend to do in the gym. I don't know. I know there's some people who work really well off of fats, but I am not one of them. A high fat diet and a low carb diet is not for me. I feel like I'm walking a zombie. Oh, tangent number one. Okay, back on track. Another good thing about macro counting is it allows you to set a goal for yourself and kind of see a progress towards it. So, like I said, you have a goal. I want to gain, 2 pounds of lean body mass. I have no idea. Within a certain time frame, and these are the macros I'm going to do. It's going to be a nice lean bulk, which means it's a lean increase in your weight. Sometimes, depending on the specifics of your goal. So what it allows you for you to do is see, okay, well, this changes then lead me to this, and I can tweak it if I need to. So it allows you to really work towards those goals, which is good, because nutrition is a huge portion of what your body's going to look like. Exercise is only the accessory, essentially. When you take a big look at it, nutrition is like 80%, okay? So those are the couple of good things about macro counting. And yeah, so that's the basics. If you have any more questions about the basics, so hopefully I covered everything. I'm kind of forgetting now what I talked about. But I did want to mention if it fits your macros, because I have some issues with it. In general, I would say that I follow a flexible dieting or if it fits your macros type approach. Now, I take it as it was originally said to be, okay? Or as it was originally made to be, whatever. And not the idea that you see on Instagram. You see Instagram hashtags all the time if it fits my macros with a person with a donut in their hand. I don't agree with that, okay? The original idea for flexible dieting and if it's your macros was the idea that simply actually to get people off the backs of their trainers, to be honest. If you look over at one of the videos for Lane Norton and his one of his talks on flexible dieting, he did mention what the original meaning of flexible dieting was. And it was just someone who was frustrated with their clients who kept coming at them saying, well, there's an apple in my meal plan. Can I have a pear instead? Right? And how irritating that must have been to get 40 emails every hour asking if I can have a pear instead of a banana or something. That's where it's like, if it fits your macros, it's fine. Okay? And the idea that you don't need to eat the same meal at every single mealtime. Okay? The idea that bodybuilders don't have to eat tilapia, brown rice, and asparagus 4 times a day. They can have chicken, brown rice pasta, provided that it's completely no weird ingredients, and broccoli instead of that. If it's the same macros, then it's fine. That's kind of the thing that I follow, and the idea that I'm still eating, my clean, wholesome foods. I'm just not sticking to the same foods 24/7. That would get boring and repetitive, and obviously you're not getting a variety of nutrients because you're eating the exact same foods all the time. You need variety in your life. Unfortunately, I don't know when it started becoming the other side of Fits Your Macros is really giving it a really bad name. The idea that, okay, I'm going to plan my entire day around having, a huge, massive piece of cake, at some point or another. Okay, fine. If you want to do that every once in a while, that's fine. But some people do it every day. They're like, you know what? I'm going to plan my macros around every single night. I'm going to top my night off with this Gaines bowl of ice cream and Pop-Tarts and, Butterfingers and everything I could throw in there. And look at me. I fit 60 grams of peanut butter into my macros today. No, that's not healthy. You're just basically throwing away all the nutrients that you could have gotten instead to have 5 tablespoons of peanut butter. Yeah, I love peanut butter. I will say I love peanut butter, but it's not going to be my main and only fat source for the day because peanuts have some nutrients. They don't have them all. I'd rather have, some peanut butter, some coconut oil, some olive oil, some avocado, throw in some variety there. And that is the big issue with if it's your macros, because people don't understand anymore what it means. They think that it's a free-for-all to eat whatever you want, provided it fits your macros, which is not true. Going back to what it was originally for, there's also the idea of micros, okay? It's the idea that you need to be getting mostly clean foods because you're supposed to be healthy, and the idea of moderation, okay? So you basically, a lot of true flexible dieters believe in the idea of like an 80-20, 85-15 rule, where basically, obviously, you have to have about 85% of your clean foods to get those micronutrients, so all of your minerals, and your vitamins, and your fiber specifically. That's a big thing for them, is getting enough fiber in your day. Provided you have all that, then maybe you can fit in, a treat here and there. And that is the true idea of flexible dieting, okay? Not, I'm going to eat like this all day. I'm going to eat low fat, low carb all day long so I can pig out an entire bowl of ice cream sundae goodness every single night. That's not the way it is, okay? And I just wanted to put that out there because it bothers me. And the fact is that they talk about the idea that all calories are equal, and all foods, if it's 40 grams of carbs coming from a sweet potato, is the exact same thing as 40 grams of carbs coming from a Pop-Tart. No. If you think about what that breaks down into, what is a sweet potato going to give you that a Pop-Tart, what's a Pop-Tart going to give you in comparison to a sweet potato, right? Pop-Tarts are just fully processed. They're full of sugar. It's going to cause your body to react differently. The carbohydrates are coming from different sources. Does that make sense? A sweet potato has fiber. It has, natural sugars, yes, but it's not a huge issue on your glycemic load because of the fiber in it, and it has all these nutrients and vitamins and minerals. Pop-Tarts are, probably the majority of those carbs are coming from sugar, like raw, or processed crap. That's really going to do your body no good. It's going to give you calories, sure, but it's not going to make your skin glow. It's not going to give you the faux tan that I like to sport because I eat squash 24/7. It's not going to really do anything for you. So I don't understand that logic that has been constantly placed. Oh, the calorie is a calorie. It's the exact same thing. Okay? And I know that if my dad's watching this video, he's going to mention that I said that once. I said a calorie is a calorie. I'm stupid. I was naive at that point. I didn't know what I was talking about. But basically, yes, that's my rant about if it fits my macros. So I hope that I've kind of given you a rough idea about macro counting. Please, I might need to do a second portion to this because I really don't know whether I've given you everything you wanted with regards to macro counting. If you have any questions, please, please, please post them in the comment section, and I will do a second part because I don't know if this has been good enough of a video to be very informative. Just to kind of round up what I said, counting your macros is generally for goal-driven behaviors, okay? So you count your macros, you have to weigh your food, you have to log your food, and you have to stick with that, okay? You have to be on point. If you have a set of macros in front of you, follow them, okay? Do not be slack about it. Do not say, oh, I think that's about that much. No. Follow it, so that you can actually see if you're progressing on those macros. If not, you need to change them. And that way too, if things aren't working, you can't just say, oh, the macros are like, this is stupid. No, it's because you need to make changes and your body is working differently. Okay, you need to learn more about yourself that way. Follow it and be consistent with it. It's time consuming, yes. It can have its benefits, yes. It can also have its negatives, yes. So be careful and really think about whether whether or not this is important enough to you to start. Okay, and whether or not you feel you can buffer yourself against that possible issue with food that would come along, because I don't want to promote anything that's going to cause eating disorder related behaviors or negative relationships with food, and you not being social anymore because you're afraid to leave your house because I can't calculate the macros in a restaurant. Okay, don't do that. What else? Go visit places like ifitfitsyourmacros.com. You can kind of get a rough idea. You can, generate your macros, kind of see if it's completely weird or if it, looks like it might work. Try it out. Try it out and see how you like it. Yeah. So that is my little blurb on macro counting. And like I said, please, if you have anything else you want to ask me regarding macro counting or if it fits my macros, let me know and I'll do a second portion to this video. Anyway, so it was nice chatting with you, and hopefully I'll be able to spit out more of these soon. So have a happy Thanksgiving, and I'm definitely going to get a post out this weekend, I swear, and I promise. So yeah, have a happy Thanksgiving to all my Canadian readers out there, and enjoy your Friday. Bye.